Only coming from someone who never killed a child.
Dahmer denied killing Adam, so police ruled him out and closed the Walsh case 3 years ago without new evidence, blaming it on another dead serial killer. The former FBI profiler believes Dahmer is the more likely suspect.
Only coming from someone who never killed a child. Only coming from someone who never killed a child.
Dahmer denied killing Adam, so police ruled him out and closed the Walsh case 3 years ago without new evidence, blaming it on another dead serial killer. The former FBI profiler believes Dahmer is the more likely suspect.
Part 1.
On July 27, 1981, 6-year-old Adam Walsh accompanied his mother, Reeve Walsh, on a shopping trip to Sears. Reeve left Adam alone in the toy department to play video games while she went looking for a lamp. When Reeve returned to the toy department, Adam was nowhere to be seen.
Turned about 5 to 10 minutes later, Adam was nowhere to be found.
Literally thousands of posters just like these are being distributed all over Florida.
The Walshes launched what's still considered today Florida's largest search for a missing child.
He's our only child. He's a beautiful little boy, and we just want him back more than anything.
I just want that person to know that we want to help them as well as Adam.
One moment, Adam is playing video games at a Sears store. The next minute, he's gone, vanished. There were shoppers all around, even a security guard. It was the middle of the day, yet no one really saw much of anything. The sun went down, the store closed, and Adam was nowhere to be found.
We're the parents of Adam Walsh, who's been missing since yesterday noon from the Hollywood Sears Mall on Hollywood Boulevard. 6.5 years old.
Reve Walsh.
We'd appreciate anyone with any information about him or have seen him or think they saw him to please call the Hollywood police.
I am prepared to offer a substantial reward for any information leading to the safe giving up of Adam. And to any of the people out there that might be holding Adam, we are prepared to negotiate ourselves with them for a safe release of Adam.
Police were baffled. How could a little boy disappear from a crowded store in the middle of the day? The parking lot full of shoppers. The police station just across the street. Who could pull off such a crime and not leave a single clue behind? Then, 2 weeks later, a grisly discovery.
The worst that we could have imagined happened.
Adam's head was found in a canal about 125 miles north of the mall.
We think we gave it our best effort to bring him back. I just wish it had a happier ending.
Adam evidently was too good for this world. He was much greater than this world.
I don't know who would do this to a 6-year-old child. I can't conceive of it. It's beyond the realm of reality.
Rumors ran rampant. The Walshes were brought in for questioning, given a lie detector test, and then cleared. Adam Walsh's killer was still free, roaming the streets.
This person is fully capable of doing it again.
The search for Adam was one of the largest in history. His death was the catalyst to the creation of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children founded by John and Reeve Walsh. Adam's father has been the host of America's Most Wanted since 1988, and the show is currently airing on Fox Network. As you read this, please keep Megan Walsh, second born after Adam, daughter of the Walshes, her for children in mind, especially 2-year-old Esther, who is owned by the state. If you are unaware of her situation, please become aware. In brief, John and Reeve Walsh illegally removed their daughter's Megan children from her care. 3 years ago, after Megan moved out of the Walsh residence with her children, of whom she had full custody of, the removal of her children was based entirely on false accusations, and she was never given due process despite everything she has done and continues to do, not just for her, but for the thousands of other children, families, and survivors of child trafficking at the hands of the government, including law enforcement and Child Protective Services (CPS). John and Reeve currently have custody of Megan's 2 eldest children, and her other daughter is living with her father. Megan's youngest, Esther, was removed at 5 days old and placed in foster care, where she remains to this day. John and Reeve Walsh are the criminals. They are America's most wanted and always have been. Welcome to the beginning, what you are about to see in the next parts of this story until the end. You will never unsee, and the things people in power do to us to entrap true reality and truth from being revealed will now be known to all. God bless you all.
Searching.
Thousands of posters are being distributed all over Florida.
The greatest legacy you can leave is to make a statement for your children.
Until now, there has been no such place to which one could turn in order to try to find and help these children.
I'm delighted to have the opportunity to help launch the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
A strong, loud voice for children. 1-800-THE-LOST.
Call the number on your screen right now.
We have technology to age photographs of missing children.
These operators do God's work.
I owe so much to the National Center. They saved my life.
We're going to bring him home.
Code Adam was established as a tribute to my son.
The new cyber tip line will be using the internet to help catch child predators who operate online.
We dedicate it as the Children's Building.
But this is a building of hope. Thank you.
To walk through the doors at the National Center, I suddenly was meeting so many people.
A financial coalition to eradicate commercial child pornography.
This may be the most important piece of legislation in the last 20 years.
We established immediately a Katrina hotline number.
She Disappeared Group is introducing a new tool to help find missing children.
We use every piece of technology available to find missing kids.
We're doing a lot right now to just rebuild into the future and be a very forward-leaning organization.
And the message should always be that hope reigns supreme.
We had an incredible open house, like a grand reopening.
We've come a long, long way. Now, the center is more needed than ever.
Are they really trying to find missing children or find your children to traffic them?
Part 2.
On August 4th, 1981, 8 days following Adam's disappearance, it is reported that John and Reeve believe their son might have been taken by someone who has had a personal loss, some kind of tragedy involving a child of their own. They also state that the police feel the perpetrator is afraid of retaliation. A $50,000 reward was offered by John and Reeve. The police claimed they are stumped. Just don't have anything concrete, and that nothing turned up in Walsh's background to indicate someone was carrying a grudge against him because of a business deal, as he was currently doing business with a hotel in the Bahamas undergoing construction. Ransom money. Argentina or Buenos Aires guerrilla kidnappers in Argentina amass fortune of $35 million from ransoms over last 2 years from March 26, 1974 ERP hideouts to include purchased apartments to rented farmhouses with false basements. Guerrillas known to operate business fronts even foot the bill. For keeping student operatives in universities. Libertarian armed forces equals Bush crime family. In this clipping shown here, John Walsh was vice president of the Paradise Grand Hotel owned by Resorts International, Inc. International Intelligence Intertel, a subsidiary of Resorts and the successor to Permindex, was the largest private security and spy organization in the U.S. started by the CIA and FBI alumni with close ties to the Mafia, for example, Robert Vesco, Meyer Lansky. Specializes in private security and intelligence gathering for corporate and other clients. To describe it another way, Intertel is an unregulated invisible industry, a security industrial perplex whose influence is more insidious for the fact that its activities are mostly unseen. Furthermore, it is a matter of record that Robert Péloquin ran the Paradise Island Casino in the Bahamas for Lansky. Before moving on, a brief history of John Walsh is necessary. John Edward Walsh grew up in Auburn, NY. He graduated from the University at Buffalo with a bachelor's degree in history in 1966. Sometime in between 1966 and 1970, sources differ with the majority, saying 1970. John's friend, Jeff O'Regan, helped him land a job as lifeguard at the Diplomat Hotel in Hollywood, Florida. According to the article below, John Walsh apparently rescued a boy from drowning. That boy was the son of John H. Monahan, vice president of the Diplomat Hotel, former president of the Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce 1952-1954, former member of the State Road Board Turnpike Authority 1961-1965, and former vice president and general manager of Warren Laundry and Dry Cleaners. Walsh and Monahan formed a close relationship from that point forward. Over a period of 2 years, Walsh worked under Monahan, learning the ins and outs of hotel marketing. John and Reeve Walsh got married in 1972, and Adam was born in 1974, sometime in 1975, after moving up the ladder in the hotel marketing industry under the direction and encouragement of Monahan. Walsh eventually obtained a position as executive director for a Bahamian promotion board agency which represented 40 hotels. 2 years later, in 1977, Walsh opened his own hotel marketing business with a partner. However, within the same year, at the urging of Monahan, Walsh sold his interest and joined Hotel Management Associates, Ltd., based out of Houston, Texas, whom also calls Houston, Texas home would be the Bushes. Keep that in mind, we will come back to this. We have a laundry manager here named John Monahan, a First National Bank vice president here with same name. Bank was also known for many Florida money laundering deals and SNL scandals, now known as Chase Bank. These banks were all in areas of crime by these high-end officials and elites. Houston, TX, Paradise Island, Bahamas, and Miami, Florida were all the areas crime was committed within this particular bank. Then, on top of that, they used the same name to disarray people researching them to gain info about their crimes and ultimately eliminate them finding any info on the correct one, FYI. August 8, 1981, Ivana Danova, president of the D. Schofield Awareness Program, a group named for Ivana's niece who went missing 5 years ago, contacted Senator Paula Hawkins urging her to intervene with the FBI and ask them to join Hollywood police in investigating Adam's disappearance. At the time, Senator Hawkins was a co-sponsor for the Missing Child Act. This bill would require the FBI to become involved automatically after a child is missing for 3 days. Here's where things get interesting. In response to Ivana's pleas for help, FBI spokesman Welton Mary stated that there is nothing Paula Hawkins can do to push the FBI into this. The article continues, according to Walsh, however, U.S. Attorney General William French Smith was able to throw the FBI into action on his son's abduction where perhaps Senator Hawkins could not. Hollywood's John F. Monahan, a friend and business associate of the Walshes, says he called a friend in the federal administration Friday to explain what the situation was and ask if help could come for Adam from Washington, D.C. Monahan stated that immediately after calling his friend, he received a call from General William Smith saying everything was all right and that the FBI were going to get involved. Interestingly, the Walshes state they believe the FBI resources will be used outside of Broward County and throughout the nation. Monahan also states, "I don't think we need them, the FBI now in this city. The implication is national." Note the spelling error in Monahan's name. His middle initial is H, not F. This is indeed the same Monahan, though. Next, I will show you a campaign video endorsing Paula Hawkins as a senator, whom is running for office during the time of laws placed into effect for the Adam Walsh case. Seems a bit fishy how this story has become very political, as you will see John Walsh endorses Senator Paula Hawkins in this video.
Year Award for her efforts in prevention of child abuse, a very important program to the American Legion Auxiliary.
Senator Hawkins, I just cannot adequately tell everybody here how proud, as national president from the great state of Florida, that my own senator is the recipient of this award bestowed upon her by 1 million members of the American Legion Auxiliary. I am very proud of all the work she has done to prevent child abuse. I know that you are, and I want you to all know that the state of Florida is too. Very proud of her. Wow. It's gorgeous.
24 years and 1 month after the failed Bay of Pigs operation, the United States today successfully invaded Cuba. It was done by the Voice of America, using a new 50,000-watt radio station transmitting from the Florida Key.
Muy buenos días y bienvenidos a Radio Martí.
Radio Marti went on the air this morning 4 months late, but the reaction in Cuba was instantaneous. Even before the music and news broadcast started, the Cuban government canceled a recent immigration agreement. The Reagan administration has said Radio Marti's news broadcast will be fair, not propaganda, that Cuban citizens need a source of news not controlled by Castro.
I think that a good informed citizen can hold the Cuban government or whatever government more accountable for their own actions.
In 1982, the Cubans used their radio power to push American stations off the air as far away as Salt Lake City. But supporters of Radio Marti downplay the threats of Cuban retaliation, saying they are not new.
He'll say he'll do anything, but you can't back down in front of a two-bit dictator.
She's from the great state of Florida, the dynamic Paula Hawkins. Come on in, Senator Paula Hawkins.
We reaffirm our commitment to equal rights and opportunity for all. Whatever others may do, the Republican Party condemns racism, bigotry, and anti-Semitism.
Trade and aid. That's the key to stopping the flow of illegal drugs. But what will it take for the administration to uphold the law as it is spelled out in my amendment? Will it take another kidnapping? Will it take another death? It always seems to be the case in this country that they never put a stoplight on the corner until after there's been an accident. That kind of thinking has got to stop. It's time for the United States to get out in front in wiping out drugs at their source.
Millions of children are reported missing every year, and thousands are never found. 1 year ago, the Missing Children Act was signed into law. My effort to see this bill through Congress was inspired by the dedication of John and Reve Walsh, who, after the death of their son, pushed for passage of my bill to help find missing children. Their story has been portrayed in a television movie which will air October the 10th at 9 p.m. Please watch Monday night and focus your attention on the need to protect our children.
I don't think anyone can imagine, I hope they never experience it, the feeling of losing a child. It's unlike any other grief. It's unlike any other loss. And as bad as that nightmare is, the feeling that no one's helping, that no one's looking, and the institutions that are supposed to protect your children don't care. I felt that way until I met Senator Hawkins. And my feelings for her are about as strong as one can imagine, because she's concerned with the welfare of children in this country. She has battled for their rights. She has stood up when others wouldn't stand up. She has battled a system that didn't work, and even though there is little reward or recognition in the passage of legislation for children, she still continues to battle for those little silent voices.
We now have a plan that can bring together the great resources of the spirit of America, which you have talked about in your private sector initiatives, into a partnership with government so that we can do a
I've
better
read your
job
plan
in making
for a public-private partnership to encourage child safety, and I concur with your proposals, and I am here today to sign both the proclamation for National Child Safety Awareness Month and the executive order concerning the Child Safety Partnership.
I'd like to show a picture of a child that's missing from Tampa, Florida. Her name's Jennifer Sophia Martinez. She's from Tampa. Jennifer will be 10 years old in just 6 weeks.
From Washington, D.C., the United States Chamber of Commerce presents It's Your Business, a weekly series of debates on vital issues affecting...
I was one of the authors of the Job Training Act with Senator Quayle and Senator Kennedy.
Cinder Hatch, and that replaced CETA, which was a make-work bill. We have a performance standard in the Jobs Training Act. These are going to be managed by businessmen, and indeed will tell us where the vacancies are. Train women, for instance, that have been displaced homemakers who are part of this unemployment trend, and take care of pay for child care while they are being retrained, and they must have a job at the end of their training or that PIC is no longer funded.
I would like to introduce someone who has joined with President Reagan to write a great chapter of American history.
During the next several weeks, we expect to be inundated with calls. A new phone number to contact police around the clock regarding information on Adam is also created. The idea of developing a clearinghouse or headquarters is emphasized once more as well. Friends and volunteers are also hoping a headquarters could act as a clearinghouse not only for tips about Adam's whereabouts, but also for ideas of ways to search for the boy. The boy? Why does John Walsh constantly refer to Adam as the boy?
He's our only child. He's a beautiful little boy, and we just want him back.
Fight for that little boy.
On the evening of August 10th, 1981, 2 weeks after Adam disappeared, his head was apparently found floating in a canal near Florida's Turnpike. Turnpike. John Monahan is quite familiar with turnpikes, given his previous job, but I suppose that was not worth looking into or considered suspect, since Monahan and a member of the family drove from Hollywood to the Indian River County Medical Examiner's Office with Adam Walsh's dental records for the purposes of identifying the remains. Fast forward to 2008, when the Adam Walsh case finally closed, and the case files were available upon request. The identification of the victim was based on a comparison of Adam's dental chart and a visual ID by John Monahan himself. However, none of the necessary documentation was in the medical examiner's office files. And let me be crystal clear here. No copy of Adam's dental chart, none of Adam's dental x-rays, no x-rays of the mouth of the found child, no forensic dental consultation report to affirm the ID, and no completed signed autopsy report narrative. Most importantly, though, is the fact that there were no dental x-rays which would have definitely proven whether the remains were Adam's or not. Oh, and John states in his book, Tears of Rage, that Monahan did not immediately recognize the child as Adam. Monahan identified the remains after he asked the medical examiner to open the mouth, at which point he saw a small emerging tooth. The case files are available at justiceforadam.com, and in 2016, journalist Daryl Ferreira wrote an article published in UPROXX titled, "Is There More to the Adam Walsh Story?" Within that article, Daryl interviews true crime author Arthur J. Harris, who has followed the Adam case since the beginning, even challenging official statements made by the police in this receipt. The following screenshots are excerpts from that article. If the case files are too overwhelming, I suggest reading this article insofar as evidence is concerned. Also, I want to note that at the Diplomat, before Adam disappeared, there were many workers that were also polygraphed and questioned during this case. One being a construction worker who, at the time of Adam's disappearance, worked at a funeral home. I just find this kind of weird. I can show the expert here. As you can see, he was questioned about pictures of seeing Adam's head, and in my opinion, I think he was involved in planting an evidence of a fake head or another head of another person or another boy.
Part 3.
Rewinding back to August 12, 1981, 2 days after the remains were identified as Adam's, an article is published in the Fort Lauderdale News titled, "The Tragedy of Adam." Once again, police stated they had checked John Walsh's background and could not find any motives for anyone to want to kidnap Walsh's son, Jeff O'Regan. John's college friend, who helped get him the job at the Diplomat Hotel, is also interviewed, in which he expresses grief over Adam's death. Then we see John Walsh really begin to shape up the narrative around the need for a central location for missing children, stating among the public, "We have a huge computer in Washington, D.C. that is for stolen cars, but we have no kind of central location for missing children. Monies are spent and funded for natural resources. And to save endangered species, you mean the World Wildlife Fund, WWF, Ake 1001 Club, or Permindex, or Assassination Cabal BCK?" Now, to be very clear, everyone does grieve differently. It may have been easier for John to advocate for more resources and better communication among law enforcement officials when it comes to missing children, as opposed to focusing too much on the identification of his son's killer. In fact, that is an adaptive way to cope with the loss of his son. Moving forward in a positive way by advocating for better methods with the hope of preventing other parents and children from going through what him and his son went through. Furthermore, who would question such advocation, especially given the circumstances? This message naturally resonates with parents all over the country. Nevertheless, the context, especially over time, must be taken into consideration. This context over time, which includes many questionable events and behaviors exhibited by the Walsh parents and other key players associated with the family and the case itself, does not seem indicative of those genuinely motivated to advocate on behalf of missing children for the reasons they claim to be. Keep in mind how incredibly quickly all of this is moving, and the fact that this idea of a clearinghouse for missing children has been casually mentioned prior to this point and propped up by friends and family members. August 16th, 1981, Adam's funeral and reception hosted by Monahan. Note: the close friends seated with the Walshes included Jim Campbell, Adam's t-ball coach, and Reeves' former live-in lover. More on that later. Jeff and Karen O'Regan of Ithaca, Nye, Les Davies, John Monahan with daughter Lizanne and sons Mike, who attacked a teen boy with a machete over a skateboard 3 weeks prior, and John Jr., the boy John Walsh apparently saved from drowning. The article states Adam will be cremated later in the week. Following the cremation, John and Reeve will take a 1-week trip to Ithaca, Nye, where they will stay with the O'Regans. With the blue sky overhead broken only occasionally by full white clouds, smiles were starting to erase the profound grief which had owned Reeve Walsh's countenance since July 27th. "I'm going to open my own office and work on this missing children full-time now," she vowed. "I've never really worked before, but now I have a cause. It's like it's something that's been determined." Adam's mother said rather than her group becoming a part of the D. Schofield Awareness Program or Child Find to already existing national groups assisting families with missing children, maybe they'll want to merge with me because I have so many people. August 19th to 20th, 1981. The Adam Walsh Outreach Center for Missing Children is alive and kicking in Hollywood, Florida. Downstairs at the old police building next to City Hall. September 7th, 1981, Senator Hawkins pushes for nationwide missing children clearinghouse. Interestingly, a 2009 article published in the Herald Tribune states the following: an elected member of the Public Service Commission, Hawkins rode the wave of Reagan supporters who won election to the Senate in 1980. Hawkins spent most of her time on women's and children's issues and apparently made national headlines in 1984 when she announced at a national conference that she had been molested as a child. The article further states, Hawkins was hampered by a series of missteps and mishaps that affected her political career. She made news because of a serious political gaffe during her Senate career when she held a steak luncheon for Florida agricultural leaders to talk about her proposal to jail food stamp cheaters. September 22, 1981, the Walshes receive an invitation from Jay Howell, Chief Counsel for the Senate's Investigations and General Oversight Subcommittee, to give a 15-minute presentation on October 6th. The subcommittee is revising the Senate version of the Missing Children Act, according to John. General Howell told him he felt that John would be an eloquent spokesman for the missing children's cause. On the day of November 18, 1981, John and Reeve Walsh appear before the House Judiciary Committee's Subcommittee on Civil and Constitutional Rights at Capitol Hill, pleading for a national clearinghouse to list the thousands of children who turn up missing every year. In addition, the Walshes requested a central office to keep track of the description of unidentified bodies. We are realists, and we are not asking for a national police force to search for every missing child, just asking for a centralized system and that the FBI assist whenever possible when a sighting of a child is out of state and local police can't follow up that lead. Given the fact that Adam was found in the same state in which he disappeared, I can't help but find this odd. They seem to be intensely focused on specific aspects of the bill that are not related to their son's case, but that's just me. Again, this is an extremely sensitive situation, so to question it, especially back then, would most likely result in social disapproval of some sort. Moreover, parents across the nation probably had a heightened sense of awareness, worry, and anxiety around this time. All of this sounds great to them because it's claiming to help solve the problem there by putting them at ease. Of course, Senator Paula Hawkins was on board. She made a statement eerily similar to what John Walsh stated 2 days after Adam's remains were identified, stating, "The Congress must send the country a message that we care at least as much about finding missing children as we do about finding stolen cars and even refrigerators, which are kept on computerized file."
Part 4.
John Monahan's involvement. Late evening of November 18, 1981, same day, the Walsh parents appear before the House Judiciary Committee's Subcommittee on Civil and Constitutional Rights 3 months after identifying Adam's head. John Monahan just so happens to be involved in another investigation. He seems to have this curious pattern of inserting himself in investigations, specifically when it comes to the identification of deceased victims. Except this time, the case involves the death of Alan James Rivenbark, drug smuggler and associate of Meyer Lansky, Robert Vesco, and Ralph Ferrazzi, member of the Colombo Mafia family in NY Monahans. Rivenbark and 5 others were killed in the crash. Although the details of the plane crash and those involved are not fully revealed until a year later, I felt it would be easier to understand when presented all at once. According to a federal agent, the plane was under surveillance by offers monitoring a cocaine smuggling operation. It was concluded that there was a high possibility the place was carrying cocaine. 30 handguns and $56,000 in cash was found in the snow. Chief investigator Bill Bachman noted that Monahan had a bodyguard with him that was a guerrilla. Furthermore, Monahan claimed and identified all bodies except a man with a Japanese name thought to be Rivenbark's bodyguard. According to Bachman, Monahan made arrangements for dental records. He kind of took charge of the whole situation. That was kind of unusual. Throughout the investigation of the crash, Bachman received death threats via telephone. Rivenbark also owned Black Mountain Guest Ranch, which, according to the article, was reported to have been used both as a hideout for fugitive mobsters and as a distribution point.